Hi guys. So, hello. Many things. So, just for starters, if you are a new subscriber, thank you. I mean, all of you are basically new subscribers. I've been really pleased with the growth that my channel has seen within the past couple months since I started uploading, and I did not intend to take like a month-long break, but I'm really quite ecstatic to see that you know, I've had this much growth this fast. Obviously it's still a very small channel, but for only 3 videos, like, I couldn't be happier. So if you have subscribed, left a comment, followed me on Instagram, I really appreciate it. My goal, I haven't talked at length about myself really, or like why I made YouTube videos or what my background is that much, but I will say quickly my goal is to be a full-time illustrator, and this is probably just going to end up being a chatty, like, draw with me / vlog, because I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of things to say, so if you're into that, stick around. But I wanted to do a disclaimer before I got into the drawing and stuff. I stopped participating in Peachtober on like October 8th. I'm sure all of you know what that means. I had a really difficult time after October 7th continuing to participate in the Daily Art Challenge, and honestly I, like, looking at the content that my peers were posting, like people that finished Peachtober, I just had a hard time understanding how they did that. Maybe it was just, you know, me in that, this is in reference to the images coming out of Israel and Palestine, but I don't know, maybe for other people it might have been like a little easier to compartmentalize, and like I totally understand if that's, you know, your livelihood or your passion or how you decompress, you know, that makes sense. But I had a very tough time separating, and so I've been doing a lot of reflection on what art making really means to me, the type of art I want to create, why I'm even getting better at art, right? Like when I sit down and I practice for hours and hours and hours, what am I getting better for? Who am I getting better for, right? Is my art going to help anyone? And so been doing a lot of reflection on that, and yeah, I want to share a little bit about that in this video. You can check out my Instagram at Caitlin Clemens Art if you want to see a little bit of what I've been up to. I posted a sketchbook spread, and before that, at the very beginning of the aggression back in early October, I made some artwork for Palestine and wrote some things as well. And so yeah, this video is not intended to be like a space to foster like any sort of political commentary or like analysis or disagreements about what's happening. I just know that I've seen some of the most horrific images that I've ever seen coming out of Israel and Palestine for the past month, and I'm sure you guys have as well. And so regardless of what side of the aisle you fall on, I know there's a lot of disagreements about what's happening and why it's happening. This video is not intended to be a space to foster more of that, like, dissent or disagreements. Quite frankly, there is enough of that happening, and yeah, it's just a very sobering time, and this might seem like it's coming out of left field considering this is a very new channel. You guys don't really know me as a person, as a creator, as an artist yet, and so maybe I'll take a little bit of time in this video to talk about that and kind of where my heart is. But yeah, you know, as a Black woman, as an American, I kind of wrote a little bit about my perspective, just personally, over on Instagram. So if you want to go check that out, you can, and see a little bit of what I've been up to, you can. And so, yeah, I would encourage, if you do feel so inclined, to comment, to share your thoughts on how you've been making art in this time, if you ended up finishing Peachtober, and what art making means to you right now. So this is probably just going to be like a chatty, sort of vloggy style draw with me / I might go on a walk later. And yeah, I've been sharing a lot over on my Instagram, and so that's really it. I also have got some books here that I intend to read. I got them from my local bookstore. One of them is by a Palestinian author named Adiana Shibli. It's called Minor Detail, if you're interested. And then I have another book that is about kind of like a larger context about Israel and Palestine together in that entire portion of land that is both things to both people. So, just trying to do my part to understand what's happening and to hopefully be a person that makes this world better and not worse. So I'm gonna stop rambling. Let's make some art. Okay, let's get into it. So this is a Royal Talons art creation sketchbook, and you can see it's their biggest size. I absolutely freaking love these sketchbooks. You can see, I think this is the 8.5. Is this 8.5 by 11? I don't know. It's the biggest one. But the sketchbook is like $20. It's my favorite. It has this gorgeous soft ivory paper, like smooth ivory paper, and I just think it's the best. It really holds up well with ink. It holds up well with paint, believe it or not. Like in my last one that I just finished, I literally used thick, heavy body acrylic paint on one of the pages and it held up just fine. I've used gouache, watercolor, acrylic ink, like you name it. If you know, you know. Beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, like it can take pretty much anything you throw at it. So I love these. They're affordable, they're amazing, and I also just really appreciate the way colored pencil and anything with like lead goes down so smooth, and I feel like I can get these like beautiful dreamy values. And so that's that. I love a smooth paper affordable sketchbook, especially this one has ivory paper, which I just feel like is not very common. But anyway, this is going to be a bit rambly, but I want to talk about several things, and then I'll probably just end up kind of doing a time lapse with some music for the rest. But to start off, this is a sketch from reference. Pretty much everything that I did in this video was from reference. I just went on Pinterest and looked up images that were interesting to me. I think honestly all of these were like on my like suggested based on things I had been looking at for Peachtober and such. But this one is just a portrait of this lady with a really cool bow in her head, wearing some, honestly, like a pretty Afrocentric garb, in my opinion. But I really liked this image, so I thought I'd draw it. But as an aside, one of the things that I've been doing when I'm drawing from reference, since I'm not quite at a place where I can like draw without reference yet, that is a goal of mine. I would like to do that within the upcoming year. But one of the things that I'm doing in the meantime is, as I'm drawing from reference, keeping an artist in mind that I really admire and trying to emulate aspects of their style with said reference. So in this particular piece, actually on this whole spread, particularly with the ones that I was doing with colored pencil or just regular graphite and not ink, I was trying to channel Sarah Tepes, particularly, like more specifically, her like use of like value gradation, if that makes sense. The value shifts that she has in her pieces are insane. She just is so good at defining her values, and they're just really beautiful. And so I used a soft lead pencil for this. I think this is a 2 or 3B pencil that I really like. And yeah, I really like the way this particular sketch turned out. So that's kind of like a tip for you if you're also struggling with, figuring out what your style is. If you also sometimes get into a drawing and you're like, this feels flat because I just replicated it exactly, I would encourage you to start thinking about what it is that you like about certain finished artwork. Like, think about artists that you like, or just even if it's just singular artworks that you like, think about what you like about them, and then try to figure out whether that's through trial and error or whether it's through just kind of like thinking about it, what you like about it, and whether or not that is actually your style or that's something that you just like to look at. So I think, for instance, like Sarah Tepes, her values are like gorgeous. She's got these super, super dark values, and then they transition super, super smoothly into these very light, like ethereal values, and she always has such bright highlights. that is not something that is so specific or like hard to replicate that it is like out of the question that it could be my style, if that makes sense. And so, that's one tip. Think of artists you like, try to replicate aspects of their style as you were drawing from reference, and then just kind of like, go from there. Like, use your intuition, what feels right, what feels not great. And so I actually really loved the way this turned out. It felt a lot like me. Like this definitely felt like my style, even though I'm still kind of figuring out what that is. So loved this one. What else did I want to talk about? Oh, I also wanted to ask if anyone is interested in like me making kind of like a video about like anatomy drawing or like finding your style as I'm figuring it out. Definitely let me know. That is something that I am, obviously currently like figuring out, and so it might be fun to make a video where I'm like discussing how I'm navigating that, because considering I'm not an expert at it yet, you could watch my video and not necessarily feel super intimidated, because I'm probably not that far ahead of some of you anyway. So let me know if something like that sounds interesting. This is something I've been working at for like roughly a year and a half, specifically just like my anatomy drawing, trying to get better at that. Similarly to like just some of my drawings from reference, I noticed that a lot of my drawings feel like they're flat when they're done, and something that has helped improve that is just getting a better understanding of anatomy. I think that one of the biggest downfalls with drawing from reference when you don't have a huge understanding of anatomy or like shape design yet is that you literally are trying to copy verbatim what you see, and that's very limiting because you can't fill any information in with what you know. So you end up just drawing exactly what you see, and it falls flat because you can't like interpret. Like even this one here that you're seeing, like this is basically just the silhouette of this person, and you understand what's happening, like you understand the angle of her body, but it's like it just still falls flat. And so this was one that wasn't very successful, but you'll see in a little bit there is another one that I do that is a lot more successful, and so that's kind of what I mean, where my anatomy skills are still developing. I've gotten to a point where there's rarely ever going to be a time where I can't capture the pose accurately, but it's pretty hit or miss whether or not I can fill in that like extra information, like with my knowledge about anatomy, if that makes any sense. I'm also struggling a lot with arms. I don't know why. That's like such a random thing to struggle with. But yeah, this one I just did is a really good example of that. Like with, these 3 anatomy poses on this page, you can see like you understand exactly what's happening with the pose. Like you get a clear definition of the figure, but it also just feels like I'm kind of outlining it and not like I have an understanding of what's going on underneath. So that's something that I'm working on. And then lastly, I kind of want to just talk a little bit about myself and where I'm at. And also, I think I might have already mentioned this, but just to reiterate, everything in this video that I'm drawing is from reference except for the typography. So the typography I did, just make up. It was based on music I was listening to or just thoughts in my head or whatever. What was I going to say? Oh, so I did want to talk a little bit about myself. I haven't necessarily introduced myself on this channel, but hello. My name is Caitlin. I'm 25. I'm originally from Chicago, and I currently live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was a UI UX designer. I went to school for industrial design, graduated with my BFA in 2020. And yeah, I got laid off in late August, and I haven't yet found a full-time job, but I've always made art, graphic design, done illustration on the side. And so when I got laid off, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. And that was because I was reading The Artist's Way at the time, which I also didn't finish. So one thing about me, I'm really big on starting things and not finishing them, i.e. Peachtober, i.e. The Artist's Way. But, we're gonna revisit those things, okay? The story is not over till the chicken comes home. I don't know what I'm saying. What's that phrase? I don't know. Anyway, so that's a little bit about me. And then kind of like separately,
I am also, just as a person, someone who cares a lot about social justice. And I say that just because I'm like, I don't know what term to use. You have those people who say like, oh, I'm not political, or like, I don't pay attention to politics. That's not me. Could never be me. I'm not that person. And so that's been something that I've been trying to navigate, especially in this time of like knowing that I am a person who is very aware of current events, cares about politics, cares about social justice, cares about people. Like how do I navigate, infusing that care, that focus into my art as I'm figuring out my style, and also how do I find the right words to say on my channel. So just all things I'm thinking through. But like I said, this video is not intended to be a space for people to argue or be angry or any of that. It's really just my thoughts on where my art is at right now and what I've been thinking through. And like I said at the beginning of the video, one of the big things that I've been considering is like, why am I making art? What am I making art for? I love, just drawing for fun, but as I'm like practicing and stuff and I'm thinking about what I want to do, I'm like, why am I doing this? Like if I'm watching these horrible events take place around the world where I'm like, I feel so helpless and there's so many horrible things happening right now, and I have this ability to make art and I'm not using it for anything, what does that mean? And to be fair, I recognize that like not everyone who has artistic ability has a desire to or a calling to necessarily make political art or make, art that is a commentary. I think there's definitely a need for art's sake, which is another thing I was reflecting on during peachtober. Just because I was struggling to continue to make art doesn't mean that everybody else who did make art is like bad or like not a real artist or something. It means that maybe that's not their calling, maybe it's something different. So that was like a kind of a pretty big realization for me, that I guess illustration or art for art's sake is not necessarily the only way that we can be making art. And so maybe for me, where I thought that, just doing illustration was like my thing, maybe that's not totally it. Maybe there's something else in store for me where I can use my art to make a difference and to raise awareness for things, or, to give social commentary to things, or help spread the voices, or, help spread the voices of those who don't have one. So just lots and lots of reflections. I really loved this kind of sketch that I'm doing here. I was really trying to, like, something that I've been trying to do in my sketchbook lately is draw everything. I feel like one of my like downfalls in the past has been that I've like have found certain things boring, and I'm really trying to get out of that habit of thinking that drawing things are boring, because I'm like, the more you draw everything, the more you can draw everything, so then your spreads and your artwork will just be more interesting. Anyway, what else was I gonna say? I think I had one more thing to say, and that was, I might have already said this, I'm honestly rambling at this point. Let me know if you want me to do a video about like anatomy or like what I'm doing or my process, and I can definitely do that. Or even if you'd be interested in a video about like art and activism. These are all things that I'm exploring. I don't have answers per se, but I like the idea of like building a little community here where we can explore those things together. So if that sounds like something interesting to you, definitely let me know down below. I would love to get into some of that on this channel. And what else? Yeah, I don't know. I'll end with this. If you are someone who also has been kind of contemplating similar things of like, how do I help the world? How do I help people? Like, what do I do with my art? What's my calling? I definitely encourage you not to shy away from using your artistic abilities to raise awareness for things that are important to you, or, things that are happening in the world. Don't underestimate your ability to make a difference. And yeah, I guess I'll leave that there. Let me know down in the comments if any of these video ideas seem or sound interesting to you, and also, how your peachtober went. I did not follow through, but that's okay. How did your peachtober go? What art have you been making? right now, and yeah, what does art mean to you? Do you believe in art for art's sake? Do you also sometimes think about making art for change or making political art? I'd love to know. So yes, please, if you do comment, let's hopefully keep them civil. Like I said, I really don't want this to be like a negative video. I just want it to be a space for discussion and really to be centered around art and maybe activism, and if that's something you care about as well. But want to keep this a positive space, so I do appreciate you respecting that. If you do want to engage in discussion in the comments. So thanks for watching, and I'm going to stop rambling now. I will catch you in my next video.